If you're new here, this is the perfect place to jump in. This is a Football Manager Journeyman save. One manager, one career, moving from club to club and dealing with whatever situation comes next, good or bad. No shortcuts, every decision carries consequences, and every mistake follows us for the whole journey. And today, we're starting a brand new chapter. The Journeyman save isn't about building one super club forever, it's about adapting. New leagues, new rules, new problems. Every club is a fresh test, and the challenge is figuring things out on the fly, often without the luxury of time. I also play this Journeyman in a slightly different way. Rather than rushing straight to Europe, I treat it almost like a Pentagon challenge, trying to win the top continental club competition on each continent before moving on. This time it happened to be Asia first. Eventually it will be Europe, the biggest test, but the one that I'm most familiar with. The goal isn't comfort, it's the challenge. I also started this save with no coaching badges and no past playing experience, which means at the beginning a manager is as low reputation as it gets. No credibility, no favours, no big jobs available. And that's exactly why our first club was Busan IPark FC, a bottom half second division side in South Korea. We didn't end up there by design, we ended up there because we wanted to go to a club that would offer to pay for our first coaching badge. They did so during the interview, and then the board backed us all the way to a Continental A licence in the end. What followed that at Busan was never guaranteed though. We had to earn trust slowly, build credibility, and take the opportunities when they came. Over time that turned into dominance. We won promotion, winning the K-League 2. We then won the K-League 1 and the Career Cup. We followed up by retaining the K-League 1 title, and then we finished the chapter by lifting the AFC Champions League Elite. That was the goal in Asia, and once it was done, it was time for us to move on. Before going any further, I do want to say thank you. The channel is still very small, but it's growing. We're up to 9 subscribers now with over 600 views across 18 videos and close to 40 watch hours so far. That might not sound like much, but at this stage it genuinely means everything. Especially knowing that people joining now are getting a far more polished version of this series than those early episodes. So honestly, thank you. Everyone plays Football Manager differently, so it's probably worth saying how I approach it. I'm pragmatic, but I always want to be an attacking team. I've almost always preferred playing with 2 strikers. In this Journeyman save, I've actually been more controlled than usual, switching to a 4-2-4 tiki-taka system, and it's served us incredibly well at Busan. That said, the Journeyman forces balance. You need success now, but you also need to think about the future. Especially when you're moving clubs regularly, it poses challenges you don't always experience in other types of save. However, Football Manager is the one game where I genuinely believe in our own little football worlds anything is possible. So after leaving Busan, I waited. I didn't apply for everything, only jobs that really felt right. So when Tigres in Mexico came up, the reaction was excitement straight away. It's a big club in a big city with a proper football culture. But we're not one of the absolute giants, and that makes it interesting. The concern came almost immediately though. The first team squad was absolutely tiny. I had to call youth players up just to fill the bench spaces. But then there was the flip side. Alongside my contract offer, there was a £30 million transfer budget waiting for us once the window opened. And that's when you realise that this job has real potential. The timing, however, made things difficult. I took over on August the 8th, season already underway. No pre-season, no bedding in period, straight into competitive matches. This wasn't a clean takeover, we inherited a moving train. And very quickly we learned the most important lesson of managing in a new league. The rules matter. League MX is a very different challenge. The season structure is unique, the margins are small, and the rules actively shape how you're allowed to build a squad. You can't afford to ignore youth development. You can't overload too heavily on foreign players either. And if you do, the league will punish you for it. And sadly, that's exactly what happened to us here. We were hit with a 3-point deduction and a fine for failing to give enough minutes to under 22 players. This was delivered at the very end of the season after our final game, dropping us from 30 points down to 27. That punishment tells you everything you need to know about this squad. It's ageing, It's heavily dependent on foreign talent, and it isn't set up for long-term compliance. This wasn't necessarily reckless management, it was structural. And we paid the price for it. Those 3 points mattered immediately. We drew Cruz Azul in the opening stage playoffs, drawing 2-2 at home. We then drew 0-0 away in the second leg, and we were knocked out. Not on away goals, not in extra time or on penalties, but because they were the higher seeded team. Ironically, without that 3-point deduction, we would have been the higher seed. Consequences. Results-wise, this has been a very different experience to Busan. Since taking over, we've played 16 games, with 7 wins, 5 draws and 4 defeats. That's a 43% win rate compared to 76% across my career so far. Despite that, the board and the fans are very pleased, and we've been rated a B so far. We were predicted to finish 5th, climbed as high as 3rd before the deduction, and still finished the opening stage in 5th after those 3 points were taken off us. It hasn't been perfect, but it has been stable. The biggest issue at Tigres is identity. We have the 2nd highest wage bill in the league, and we're predicted to finish 5th. That tells you everything. There are players here earning far more than their ability justifies. The squad is ageing, heavily dependent on foreign talent, and far too small in numbers for the demands of this league. All of that has to change, and quickly. But before touching the squad, the first thing I did was overhaul the staff. Recruitment, coaching, medical, all of it done. There's no point fixing the team if the foundations underneath it are broken. We've now reached the mid-season break, and the transfer window is open. Some out-of-contract youth prospects have arrived to pad out the teams below first team level. The real work hasn't actually started yet, but it has to. This window isn't really optional for us, it's imperative to start the process of change. Episode 12 is where this era really begins. Outgoings, incomings, and a reshaping of the squad so the rules stop punishing us. If you're new here, this is the perfect time to join the journey. A new club, a new league, and a lot to fix. This is the Tigres chapter, and it's only just getting started.